these items as we move forward. In addition, we discussed a lump sum unit pricing versus, lump sum versus unit pricing, something we will look into shortly. We discussed the timing of the project. In particular, QE's proposal very clearly shows that they assumed the project to start 4/15, 2 weeks from now. And that their standard work days are Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. Because of the time constraint that we have on us for FEMA, obviously we are not going to be beginning April 15th. An optimistic projection that came out in last CBD meeting was that maybe we will start approximately 6 weeks later. And that is an optimistic viewpoint. Thus, we discussed very detailed with QE whether they could work longer days and whether they would work on Saturdays to complete this project on time. And we also came up with this discussion. We realized that the delay in the start is going to push us into the rainy season. So there's going to be some efficiencies that are going to be lost, and there's going to be less available hours to work had they begun in a couple of weeks. As the completion date of this project in time to submit to FEMA for reimbursement is paramount to everything we are doing here. We then discussed some scenarios which might allow QE to start work prior to the finalization of our financing requirements and our subsequent formal contract. Who indicated that they would be willing to proceed production of the rock from their mine based upon a letter of intent. And this would save us approximately 2 to 3 weeks in the startup of the project, and just as importantly would get us into their schedule and allow them to begin planning for mobilization. Josh indicated that the letter of intent might be possible, and that caution blew that the letter of intent obviously would come through our legal counsel. In no way would be binding to the quarry that we would commit to proceed, because obviously we need a lot of other things to happen, financing, etc. We understood this, and we collectively agreed to pursue this possibility further based upon the feedback from our legal counsel. And then we discussed areas of the project where we might possibly have some cost savings. And QE agreed to review a couple of our line items and get back to us. And Lou's own suggestion is mirroring what we just talked about a moment ago, in that he questions the need for an independent contract manager. Lou explained to me and to Josh in some detail, but not full detail, their quality assurance program, their project management, and their system of approvals. And based on that, I have the feeling, we still need to pursue it further, but I have the feeling that this fifth layer of oversight, if not possible to completely eliminate it, could certainly be pared back greatly. Lou also advised, and this is important in our decision as to construction management, he advised that if he was awarded the contract, as soon as any of the areas were completed from their restoration, they would allow the CBD, and I'm assuming any other And I've asked Lou to document this entire system of his in very great detail as possible as it pertains to our project so that we can explore this option. And one of the other things that Lou has also agreed to, from here on out, himself or one of his representatives to make sure to be at every one of our meetings. And then I also heard back, I did write this down and sent it off to Wes when I returned to my home. And as Jerry said, Wes is not available today, but Jerry did respond this morning regarding the letter of intent. And he echoed Josh's sentiments that yes, we could proceed in that direction, but obviously it would be non-binding to the quarry. And we will begin looking at that as part of our next steps in continuing the negotiation with QE. Any questions?
Jared, you have
Yeah,
any
no,
comments on that?
No, I think that's all well stated. Certainly on the issue of the contractor providing, or getting started on rock, I think that works, provided that, as you mentioned, we're clear that, there's no binding commitment, obviously. So, until we've got our funding in place, gone through our assessment process and whatnot, we wouldn't want to sign a contract. And then on the other items, in terms of how we're moving forward, it was a little unclear to me exactly what the direction is. It sounds like maybe one type of quality assurance person there, and then the other RFQ dealing with, sort of the construction manager. It sounds like maybe we're going to rely partly on our own internal expertise as well as perhaps on our new district engineer in some capacity. Is that sort of consensus, or I just want to make sure I understood that part of it?
Yes, basically, Chair, this is George Single. My opinion is that, number one, we had one quote from Capital Services. The quote was extremely high, and they appeared to pad their estimate greatly. So, in my opinion, right now, I don't want to take them off the table completely, but I want to pursue right now, for a very short period of time, another methodology for managing construction with 4 levels as opposed to 5. I think Lloyd has just mentioned that they feel strongly, they being quality engineers, feel strongly that they have a strong management team in place. I corroborate that statement from my discussions with various other CDDs as well as reviewing their history in client list. So I agree with that.
Hey, Kathleen, did you say that the RFQ responses or qualification statements on the district engineer due tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. So if that's the direction the board wants to go in, one motion you could make with respect to the construction manager is you could move to terminate that negotiation and also terminate that RFQ process on essentially reject all bids because you're going in a different direction on the construction management. And then the second motion you could make is if you want to approve the quality assurance manager, you could certainly do that. I would think and I don't know if you all want this to get started up. If you right now you don't have any funding, so you can approve it. Subject to funding coming in place, or if you do have some funds on hand that you think will cover a certain period of time, we could authorize that part of the work or something along those lines.
Jared, they've already approved that. What we need to do is make a motion to move forward with authorizing a contract, however you want to word it with the letter of intent.
Okay.
The only thing,
Quality assurance motion, do you all have funding for the full $29,000?
no. Additionally, is there a problem with us waiting till the next meeting in 2 weeks? By 2 weeks, we should have everything firmed up with regard to our clear path forward. I don't want to prematurely put capital out of the picture. In my opinion, I'm 90% sure of that, but there's still a 10% probability in my mind. So I don't want to necessarily kill an option arbitrarily, especially when we can wait another 2 weeks and have a clear path forward. And at that point, do what you're suggesting, is put a motion forward to kill the construction manager formal position.
May I speak?
Yes.
Just one question on the quality assurance. Are we comfortable with enough testing that they'll be doing? Or,
Yeah, I'm able to receive the detailed statement from Lumen as to what would be included in their services.
May I speak?
Sure.
You know, I've reviewed Capital's proposal, I've reviewed ECS's proposal, and when I am speaking about a topic that I live and breathe for my entire career, I'll speak with a little more force. If you ask me questions about finance, marketing, being a good husband, I probably wouldn't offer my expert opinion. But I would tell you this, that I would strongly recommend that we reject Capital's proposal for project management. I found their proposal lacking in depth, staffing, understanding of the project. ECS gave us a proposal for quality assurance, which was what they were asked to do, which was to provide testing and certifications of the materials in conformance with the contract. Their proposal was close to on point, but didn't exactly hit the scope as it was intended. You know that they were the consultant that the QCA hired to look at the stone in phase 1. And I think the report was a reasonably objective and qualified report. I've spoken to them, asked them if they would modify their proposal to do both project management and quality assurance, which is the best of both worlds since you have two disciplines being served by one, presuming that you trust the one that you hired. They've given me last night an estimate of those services, which are half of what was proposed by Capital. And again, those services are provided on an hourly basis as needed. So if we find that Quality Enterprises does a really good job, let me say it in reverse, let's say they do a really bad job, we need an inspector there every single day watching and making sure that it's fixed and done right. Because that's how you stop problems from becoming bigger problems. But if Quality Enterprises does a really, really good job, your inspector needs to be there less and less, only there to validate and verify what's being done is correct. So my view of the project management, not the quality assurance, the project management is that it's determined on an as-needed basis based on the results of the contractor's work. So we have the ultimate authority as the CDD board to say, you know what, cut back your hours from 5 days a week to 3 days a week, or from 8 hours a day to 6 hours a day. So I am comfortable with the budget that we've established. I just don't know if we have the right person yet. So I say to you, ECS, I recommend, is a good candidate for the role of both quality assurance and project management, subject to the progress that we're going through on a district engineer. If that district engineer can be trained quickly, with the scope and expertise that would transcend the work that we're talking about now, I would embrace hiring that one person to do it all. I also encourage that the retention of that professional be done early enough so that they can review the plans and specs and make sure that they have protected us. While we're serving on the board and providing what we hope is a qualified review of these things, when we retain a professional, they are now responsible for the review of those documents and making sure that they're proper, correct, there's no gaps, overlaps. We're doing it as lay people, somewhat professional, but I want the professional that we hire as our quality assurance and project manager, whether it's a district engineer or not, to have had the chance to review the plans and specs before they go too much further. So my recommendation would be that we aggressively pursue the district engineer and that we discontinue discussion with Capital and that we commence with some discussion with ECS to refine that proposal to be closer to what we would expect it to be in the event that we cannot find that district engineer in the few weeks ahead of us. One more thing.
I think those are all good practical points, make sense for the project. The only thing I would ask from a legal perspective is, obviously we've set up certain RFQ processes, one for quality assurance, one for construction manager, and to the extent that we're sort of using our quality assurance person to do some of the construction management, and they didn't participate in that RFQ, you could get two issues. One is you could get a challenge from Capital saying that somehow this wasn't fairly dead. That would be one point. And two, I'm not sure if that works from what the implications are for FEMA reimbursement. If FEMA might sort of look at the RFQ process and say, well, this is what you bid for, or something to that effect. But this is only two legal issues at the bottom.
I submit to you, Jer, on those issues, and if they need to be rectified, then we might need to do that. But Jer, does that also then obviate the use of our district, a new district engineer to do those services?
I don't think so, because it was so broadly bid. The way it was bid, I think that you could fit that work under that contract. So I'll go back with Wes, we'll double check the notice and everything, but I think that works under the district engineer contract. And the timeframes are such too that the RFQ processes have a fairly short notice period. If we need to go back and re-advertise to clean something up, I'm sure we can do that, have it all wrapped up in time to have it start on time.
Here's, Jerry, here's my comments. Number one, precedence has already been set where the engineer of record is also the project manager, as evidenced by the fact that Josh Evans served both purposes during phase one. So I think that issue's put to bed. Number two, yes, you're correct about the fact of challenges. I think in any case, though, given Stan's expertise on the subject and the new information he presented today, I would now support a motion to close the construction manager position. And depending on what council comes back with, if we have to pursue another ad for a combination or hybrid position, that would be fine with me.
So does that close our discussion on the QA, QC, and the project manager discussion?
I think we need to make a motion to close out the construction manager.
I would make that motion.
I would second it.
Jared, how do you need that in the record?
I think it's pretty well stated. I guess the motion would be to terminate the negotiation with Capital Consulting Solutions on the construction management RFQ and authorize the rejection of all bids and termination of that RFQ.
And we need council's response back as soon as possible on the validity of an enhanced ECS quotation.
Absolutely. If you want to take this first motion up, we'll do that first, and we'll take a second motion on the second issue.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to terminate negotiations with the capital or construction management. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, motion carries 5-0.
Then,
So that takes care of that first item. I think on the second one, that's a good point. I think what I would do is authorize staff to either first to review the legal issue of what is covered by that particular RFQ, and depending on the answer to that legal issue, either continue negotiations with ECS Florida, or alternatively, provide for staff to move forward with the new RFQ process in time for our April 16th meeting, if I can remember the date right.
Correct. I can tell you this, Jerry, that if you review it, I wrote it, so I know both positions really are crossovers, with the construction manager focusing more on construction and a little bit of quality, and the quality manager focusing on quality with a little bit of construction. So there definitely is overlap, number one. And number two, you just have to determine the extent of the ECS, I guess, quotation to determine if there indeed could be a problem.
Yeah, I think that's all well said. I mean, it may well be that the changes that we're thinking of to the quality assurance role are not that substantial within that role. And if not, we can either have this other RFQ sort of rerun, or we can fit it under the district engineer, depending on how that works out. And I would, if we could add to that motion, some involvement from one of the board supervisors in terms of working with the staff on that issue, I think that'd be really helpful. I don't know, George, if you want to do that, or whoever's, wanting to pursue that, that'd be great.
I would certainly volunteer any open need when it comes to reviewing engineers' proposals and scope, if you like. Between George and I,
I've been doing it, so.
then I continue.
Doesn't matter.
All right, then let's include, I need a motion to authorize the staff to review the legal issue on what is covered in the proposal and to continue negotiations and move forward with the new referendum Q designating the chair as the board's representative.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Motion carries by
If I could continue the discussion on Lloyd's report. Thank you, Lloyd. I thought that was a great report, and I'm pleased that what I think happened last week with quality enterprises. I gotta be careful not to mix up quality assurance and quality enterprises. QE for identification purposes went well. I know that I have a number of questions for quality today, and I'm not sure this is the right time or whether it should be later in the meeting when we go through our own business. But I want one thing to be said from my vantage anyway, and that is, while we have a caliber, good contractor with a quality, apparently good caliber contractor on board, I would not support a letter of intent or a successful negotiation such that we would proceed with production of rock or any other process until we have a negotiated change order for phase 3 in hand. I think that now is the time that you make all your negotiations. You don't buy one piece and then buy the second piece later on when you have a contractor locked in. So for me personally, I want to make sure that we've finished the project all at once, going in, that our financing is our financing as best as we can. We have this project defined. So, but that will be, if appropriate, relegated to a discussion more detailed for quality enterprises later in the meeting, if that makes sense. Then I'll defer that discussion until a time later when we can sit and actually, not sit, but in this forum, discuss further.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, next time.
We are on new business.
It may or may not be comparable, but I'd just be curious if you knew how much Heritage Bay spent on their restoration project and how many lineal feet it covered. Do you know those numbers? Do you have them? It's in here somewhere. Okay, give me a clue.
On that, as you're looking it up, Stan, we did briefly discuss that with Lou, and that our figure is considerably higher. One of the reasons I was told in our meeting that our figure is higher was that they had land access rather than barge for their operations. All land access.
All right, moving on to new business, discussion review of phase 2 and 3 cost estimates. George, are you going to take this?
I was anticipating you were going to strategic walkthrough, so.
If you recall from the last meeting, we need to prepare an estimate for both phase 2, which is the balance of work for phase 1, as well as phase 3. Phase 3 is the new name for the repairs to the portion that was done in phase 1. So we're calling that the phase 2 and phase 3 projects. And we're going to go for a combined total for the new bond issue. So we need a total cost to finish the project. That is phase 2 as well as phase 3. So the first item in the estimate is the construction for phase 2. And right now, Quality Enterprises is a successful bidder on that. They're the only bidder on that since Dragonfly has removed themselves. So that is $1,950,000. A construction cost for phase 3. This is an estimate, not a quotation. We are using $800,000, and that is based off of at least 2 estimates. Josh Evans performed estimating for the phase 3 project using several different methodologies and came up with $800,000. I used my own methodology, which was much coarser than Josh's. I don't have AutoCAD and other engineering tools that Josh has at his disposal, and I came up with $1 million. And did anybody else perform their own estimate for phase 3?
I did. My wife said $1 million for everything I buy, so it's about $1 million. Now, seriously, Josh has the advantage of the engineering CAD drawings and the calculations. We're no longer actively engaged in engineering, I guess. So I took another rudimentary approach, and mine was that $900,000 number, assuming that we would take, and again, it's all about what your scope is for phase 3, or what would be a change order to quality. And the proposal is, because I think it's important that the community knows what we're talking about in terms of what that phase 3 is going to look like. And the current thinking is that ECS said phase 1, which is the phase 3 repair, had a lot of stone on it that was undersized and wouldn't sustain the wave height and the hurricane winds that we paid for back a year ago. So the thinking that we've had, I think, is that we would layer most, if not all, of phase 1 with new 12-inch mat of stone, 12 inches thick, 12 inches in size minimum, so that we would get that 12 to 24 that we were promised and bought from Metro in that phase 1 contract. So if you use that 12-inch mat or thickness of 12-inch stone, that was in my mind a $900,000 number. But the method of that is a function of what unit price you use. Metro's unit price was $72 a ton to supply and install. Quality's price is $97, I think, per ton to supply and install. So that's where there's a variation in what it ultimately will cost. But using Quality's numbers of 97, my number came up around at $850,000, $900,000. That does not include any credit of material we would get in a settlement with the BG line. That's correct.
The same for my estimate. So basically, I proposed $1 million, Josh proposed $800,000. We reviewed his numbers at length because his was much more sophisticated and decided to use his number of $800,000. And obviously now we have corroboration that we had 3 numbers of 800, 900, and $1 million. So I believe we're definitely good with that number. We included a number for engineer of record that is for changes that will be made throughout the project. $50,000, construction manager of $100,000. That has been supported, that number is supported by Capital's portion that is the construction manager and not the overhead, as well as some admin. Quality manager materials testing, $50,000. That is supported by ECS's quality manager quotation of roughly $30,000. District management and legal, there are fees, there were fees associated with phase 1 for the district manager and legal, so we included a number of $50,000 for that. That's a subtotal of $3 million. Given the fact that this is a lump sum and some of the numbers are estimates as opposed to hard quotes, we used a contingency value of 10%, and that was after we performed a risk analysis to vary other weigh other factors. So contingency of 10% results in $300,000 for a total project cost for phases 2 and 3 of $3.3 million. And based off of the analyses and based off of the discussions, I recommend to the board that we pursue a number of $3.3 million for the work that needs to be done on phase 2 and phase 3. This does not include any riprap or anything else that we potentially could receive from litigation or the mediation. However, I want to point out one more thing, Josh, that, understand that if we go for a $3.3 million bond and money is not used, that money reverts back to the bond. So it'll be instantly paid back, if you will. So if we use $300,000 immediately goes back to the bondholder in terms of payment. Or if we use $2.8 million, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So anything we do get back, and we do end up receiving in terms of mediation or whatever, that will automatically go back to all of the efforts that have been done so far. Go ahead, Josh. Josh has one point.
The contingency being 10%, I mean, I think it's a sensitive subject, obviously, we might not be here, and we had a different contingency, because it would be there to fix the problems with the first phase, but, the 10% contingency makes sense for a number of reasons. You and I agreed to that based on it being a fixed fee contract. The enterprise contract, we would look at a very different contingency. And then also mentally, I'm kind of building into that contingency the possibility of some rebate of some material cost of land in phase 3. Phase 3 is an extremely undefined project at this point. So, if there's any risk there, it's that there's a project that's not very defined, and we don't know we have materials coming back to us to supplement that project. So 10% alone might not be a large enough contingency for phase 3 in the absence of all projects. So, just point that out.
And I would just add that phase 3, which is a change order, because we're going to talk about nomenclature as we go through this. It's really, phase 3 is the repair to phase 1, which becomes a change order to quality. I view as a unit price project with a specified amount of money that gets used to fix the shoreline, but managed so that we don't exceed the available budget. Again, thin it out, short it out, never shorting the community, but managing it step by step. So I know that I feel pretty good about the amount that we've allocated for that phase 3 change order.
Two things. Is what the bond fees in that number?
They are not.
Do we have an estimate for that?
There's going to be a discussion on financing assessments.
Second thing, where is the 7.5% administrative fees on the part of the county?
This is under construction and engineering. That's it.
I'm just trying to
Local.
understand what the community is going to be.
Yes, okay. There, obviously, those are additions to that number that will be going forward. This covers strictly the construction and engineering portion.
Rick Minozzi, 9278 Marblestone Drive. I realize that what I'm hearing is phase 3 work isn't well defined.